Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our presentation. My name is Twyane Sims, and I'm one of the advisors with the APEX program. We are going to you today about modeling in the midst of uncertainty. I'm going to turn the mic over briefly so that my colleagues can introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Akila Reese, and I am the Coordinator of Instructional Support with the APEX Scholars Program.
My name is Cynthia Merritt. I'm one of the advisors as well with the APEX Scholars. Thank you.
My name is Nick Patterson. I am the Career Development Coordinator / Academic Advisor with APEX Scholars.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kiana Respis, and I'm also Academic Advisor with APEX Scholars. Hello, and welcome.
Okay, so as I said, my name is Twyane Sims, and I'm going to be talking to you right now about giving you a little bit of history and background about APEX. So again, thank you for choosing to spend this hour with us, and we hope that at the end of this presentation that you will walk away with a little bit more insight into how this machine called APEX works and the services that we provide our students. And so a little bit of history, APEX emerged in 2012. It's a combination of, many of you may be familiar, depending on how long you've been at Wayne State, you may be familiar with DCE, or the Division of Community Education, as well as TRIO Student Support Services. Those programs kind of combined to give us what we now have, or what we now know as APEX Scholars. The mission of our program is to provide an academic bridge to the successful transition from high school to college to undergraduate students at Wayne State. Our quest, in our quest, we support students by strengthening their cognitive abilities, cultivating a thirst for knowledge, and developing a disciplined approach to learning. We support the enhancement of academic achievement by assuring access to committed staff that provides effective supportive services leading to a structured path toward academic success. So when students apply to Wayne State and they don't possess the test scores, the minimum test score, or the minimum GPA, they are flagged for our program. And so just to dispel some misrepresentations about our students and their academic abilities, there are quite a few of our students that come to with 3.0 or higher GPAs. Some of them have 4.0s. However, they missed the mark on the test score, or vice versa. They had high test scores, but they may have missed that minimum GPA. So we service both populations. So once referred to our program, that student will receive a letter from us inviting them to participate in our alternative, or in our program, which is an alternative admission program. If they accept the invitation, they're asked to come in for an interview, and a decision is made on whether on whether or not they'll be able to participate in the summer or the fall bridge component. So we decide whether or not they would do better off coming in the summer, which provides some additional assistance, or whether or not they're strong enough to start in the fall. So the 8-week summer program, Summer Bridge program, and like I said, it's 8 weeks, and students are required to stay on campus. All of their courses are paid for, their books are paid for, their dorm is all paid for. And they participate with our program. We provide them with advising, tutoring, the whole gamut of services. They take courses, they take a communication course usually, some form of English preparation, math preparation, and then they also are involved in a research symposium. Students who participate in the fall, it's similar, except they just don't get that extra edge. They take as well, they take the communications course, and then they'll take an English course depending on how they scored on their SATs. So if some of them start with English 1010, some of them start with English 1020. For both summer and fall, students are required to pass all of their courses with a C or higher. Okay, if they don't pass those courses, then they are not permitted to continue on at Wayne State. They are asked to leave the university and go to another institution of their choice, obtain 24 credit hours, and then if they want to, they can come back as a transfer student. So some of the things that we offer to our students, we offer advising, we offer instructional support, and we also offer career development services. With the advising component, students are required to visit with an academic advisor, one of us, for 30 to 45-minute sessions, and that's twice a month, so biweekly appointments. Prior to COVID, we had a caseload of maybe somewhere between 30 to 35 students. But our numbers have increased since COVID. This year, we service about 40 to 50 students. These appointments are mandatory every 2 weeks. And so if you're wondering how come you may not see Apex frequently out participating in events, it's because we're literally nailed to our seats. Another component is instructional support. That's a quite big component of our program as well. Students are required to participate in about 8 hours a week of study time. They also have to participate in at least one study group. And the way we structure that is by scheduling with block schedules. So every student receives a schedule. We create the schedules for them. And that allows us to provide group tutoring. And it's kind of structured maybe a little bit like SI in a way. And then outside of that, students have the opportunity to walk in for tutoring throughout the week. So 8 hours a week for studying in the labs or in the UGL, and we're able to track that. And then 1 hour of scheduled group tutoring each week. Okay. Career development is also a component of our program. Students are required to participate in 3 workshops a semester. Those 3 workshops are geared toward majors. So students within a certain discipline have the opportunity to enhance their knowledge of their major. It's an awesome, excellent, possibly networking opportunity for some of them. For students who are undecided, they can go to different workshops as well. So they have an opportunity to kind of see what other professions and majors have to offer. And for those who maybe need some additional assistance with resume writing or maybe some coaching on career decisions, we do have career coaches who are available by appointment. All of our students, all of the services that we provide students are mandatory. And so a student is required to comply. There's a contract that or agreement that they sign at the beginning. And if they are out of compliance, and again, that's biweekly appointments, those biweekly appointments, the tutoring, the career workshops, if they fall out of compliance, then they would no longer be eligible to receive the scholarship incentives that we offer. And so each semester, each student is evaluated on their academic performance as well as being in compliance. And that next semester, they are offered additional funds or scholarships through our programs. Compliance is also important as a determinant for whether or not a student would be placed on academic or APEX probation, or if they would be dismissed. So again, students throughout the semester, and let me say that students must participate in our program for 3 semesters, and that's in addition to the summer if they come in the summer. So the fall, the winter, and the fall. So through those 3 semesters, if they fall at any point under a C in any class, they would be subject to either dismissal or probation. So for students, for instance, who maybe fall below that C, if they're in compliance, they've been going to their advising sessions, they've been attending tutoring, and maybe they just kind of missed the mark, then they're placed on APEX probation. And that would mean that they would be required to see an advisor not twice a month, but 4 times a month. So they would come and see us 4 times a week. And they would also have to do all of their APEX study session hours in the building. Okay. So that's just the general overview. And of course, we have had to make major modifications to how we offer services to our students. And the goal was to still provide that intrusive advising, those wraparound holistic services to our students, but of course in a virtual or pseudo sense. So I'm going to pass the mic over now, and my colleagues are going to provide you with some in-depth details as to that pivot, what that looked like, and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sims. So we had asked the students, a couple of students on their experience during this time on reflecting about their transition, whether it be from when they were in high school to the virtual, whether it was from, from the winter semester to being virtual, and then the newer students to coming to college. So just to share some reflections about what the students said. So we have our first reflections from some students, and then we also got some reflections from some of the staff. So these first statements are from our incoming students. They're the 2020 new students coming in. So from Dylan, he expressed that he knew that he was, since he was transitioning in the high school environment to a virtual, he knew that he could be successful when it came to college, because he knew that that in the college setting, it would be the same way. So that made it kind of easier. And then he's saying that APEX, with how we communicate with him over the program, that made it easier. However, Naomi, she expressed that she was shy and that she was an introverted personality type. So that made it easier for her she thought it was going to be easier for her because she could be, she didn't have to be in person. So she was kind of scared in that way. Everything was new. People were understanding that it was affecting everybody. Sheer, what her experience was she was transitioning from not only this whole virtual environment, she was switching from in high school, she was switching to a new high school. So that was mentally challenging for her. She was on a roller coaster of emotions in that she didn't know anyone in that setting. She felt like she couldn't connect, and getting to know people was harder. So it was like a love-hate relationship. She did participate with the group chats, but she felt like that wasn't the same. She expressed that she was grateful for the Summer Bridge program and learning Canvas. And she was looking forward to going on campus, but she enjoys being online. And then we had some comments from our students who were previous, the 2019 start. They were in the winter semester when the pandemic hit, and they were transitioning from being in class in the winter semester to the virtual. So Jamila said she was annoyed. Virtual learning was hard and it wasn't the same as being in person. She felt like it was going to be more homework. And she felt like that it was going to take more than a week, that week of summer break, to figure out her classes and her assignments. She was worried about how APEX would work. She felt it was going to be hard, but she transitioned with ease. She's doing okay. Nicole, she was a student who was living on campus during the pandemic in the winter semester. So she was a little bit confused, but her parents encouraged her to move out of the dorms and move back home. So she felt like she wasn't going to be a real college student. She also told me that she thought she was going to, it's going to be an easy situation with not having to walk to campus, but now she misses that piece. She misses walking to Old Main or walking to her campus on campus classes. She also expressed that paying attention was a little bit more of a challenge for her because the professors and such can't see her, so she easily got distracted. And so she felt like that was a weird situation. She thought she wasn't learning as much. Someone expressed that in the last session about how the students weren't kind of learning or critically thinking. And then few comments from the APEX staff. One staff indicated reaching out during this COVID time to students was going to be different, preparing early for those summer bridge acceptance, meaning preparing the students for in the interviews, solidifying the interviews earlier. That helped cut down on those stressful moments when the COVID hit. Using technology, the use of technology and getting the technology in our homes and things like that, and not having to use the personal items, that cut down on the stress as well. Also, something that's noteworthy that this person said as well was that reaching out to students a little bit earlier, excuse me, to encourage the students in the winter semester, from the winter semester and transitioning to the virtual environment, were able to ease their minds. And then this person also had mentioned about how, the department adapted well due to different change moments with admission standards the university made, with DCE, as Ms. Sims had mentioned, and now with COVID. And then another staff mentioned that they were kind of uncertain about if the students were equipped to pass their classes during the winter semester, but they were excited to have the opportunity to be creative. Another staff mentioned how there were some late midnight hours that that they had to work on to get APEX up and running online. The university made a lot of changes quickly, so that was overwhelming in getting the restructuring of the interviews, the orientation, preparing for the summer bridge program, all that shifting of the parent presentations to be online and the holding of meetings online with the parents. That was stressful, and they had to jump in and step up and jump in with both feet. They split duties and made things work out. And I think that's something that's noteworthy to mention as well here, is that supporting the staff, supporting each other, even with balancing, this person said, their own illnesses at home and things like that, when we're dealing with that, still making things work out for the students. Something else that's noteworthy in the student realm that I thought was interesting, that's not listed on here, is one of the students had indicated that when their teachers were, indicating they were stressed and transitioning, and they had stress, that made the students stressful and doubtful as well. So that was frustrating to that student as well. So there are some reflections from our students and staff, and I'm for sure that others have been experiencing these same types of situations, same type of feelings. So we just wanted to share some reflections on that.
Thank you, Ms. Merritt. So just keeping those reflections in the back of your mind, I'll be addressing how are advising how our interview process and as well as our orientation shifted from in-person to online. So I'll be going a little bit more in depth in that, and just kind of keeping those reflections in the back of your mind will kind of help just how all this panned out. So I'll begin first with our advising and how that transitioned. So like we said it a little bit before at the beginning, that our model through Apex program, our advising model is to incorporate in intrusive advising and success coaching strategies to promote continuous connection with the students. And with that continuous connection, we have a staff of advisors that work with the students of a caseload of currently is 40 to 50 students. And we meet with those students bi-weekly. And those appointments run to about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the student's needs. So in person, in addition to the biweekly appointments that we also have an open door policy where as long as our door is open, and if the student doesn't want to wait into their next appointment, if they have something to share, something exciting, something that is important to them, they can just drop in for a drop-in appointment and talk to us. So they just have that freedom. And then also within the Apex, within our office, we have computer labs and then also study areas for students to come in. And just a place for them to study together, hang out, and continue to build that camaraderie amongst one another. But this is also a great point for advisors to check in with the students to see how they're doing. Definitely a great way that we have built rapport and relationships with students while we're in person with the office space as well as the open door policy. So how that has transitioned from in-person to virtual is when everything shifted after the student spring break for the winter 2020 semester. We still continued in our biweekly appointments since we scheduled those ahead of time, but we want to make sure that we were fully flexible in meeting the student where they were. So we met with students by phone, email, and virtually through Microsoft Teams and Zoom. So in these conversations, we still kind of discussed their academic progress, any major related concerns or questions that they have, and then also just make sure they have the resources they need. But with the quick shift, we definitely want to make sure the students felt supported and knowing that they're not going through these transitions alone. So that was really a grump of the conversation that we had with the students, just making sure that they're just coping okay, making sure that even though everything has changed to online, that the resources are still there, that CAPS is still available. So us as advisors, we also had to make sure that we are aware of how other departments were transitioning, so we know how to best assist the students. And then also a part of those conversations was also the P&N grading, so students are aware of how that would affect them if they chose to use those options. So since the winter was so rapid, so quick, it definitely gave us a foundation from in preparing for the summer bridge students to come in. So as advisors, our participation in the Summer Bridge program is, of course, advising, but we also do group advising. And then we also are part of the orientation and the meet and greets that we meet the students. So the switch from in-person to virtual during the winter semester definitely prepared us to prepare and kind of deal with all the stress that we had before, but to come in strong since we knew for sure that the summer would be in person. So now we can go ahead and transition into how our new student interviews have changed. So when students apply to Wayne State, they can be referred to Apex, and they can either choose to accept that referral or to decline it. But if they accept it, then they continue the process in selecting an interview time and day. And then based on that, in our in-person process, once the interview day comes, they come in person, they get an opportunity to see what our office looks like. And if they choose to come with a parent, it's completely their choice. They don't have to, but if they do, the students and the parents are separated. But they both get the same information, an overview of our program, the benefits of our program, and the difference between the summer and fall cohorts. So once the students get that overview, they're then escorted to the Apex staff. They'll be conducting their interview. And then while the students are in the interviews, the parents still remain in their overview sessions, giving them more time to ask in-depth questions with our administrative staff. So after the interviews are conducted, the students will be notified within 2 to 3 weeks and of the decision made, whether they were accepted to the summer bridge, the fall bridge, or denied. So this process that we have in person is the same virtually. We just had to make some modifications since we didn't have the luxury of meeting the students in person. We conducted our interviews through Microsoft Teams and Zoom. So the overview, since we had since the Microsoft team was only just strictly for the interview, we made sure the students got an overview of the program so they can come in with the interview with any questions that they had about the program that we can answer at that time. And then also we made sure that the parents still got an opportunity to talk to our administrative staff to answer any questions they had about the program. So the parents were also sent links that they could participate in that to get that same information. So roughly it was still the same, but we just had to make some modifications, and then also had to be flexible with if students didn't receive the email or they were having Wi-Fi issues. So we weren't able to physically see them. It might've turned into a phone interview, but still being flexible in that with the virtual interviews. So with our orientation, we do have 2 orientations. So one orientation is for our summer bridge cohort. And within these orientation, the same things that they'll get in the interview, we make sure that we continually give them the same information so they're aware of what APEX is, what we stand for, and kind of what they're getting themselves into. So we definitely make sure that they have this information over and over again. So within the orientation, they get an overview of the program, get a more in-depth information on the summer bridge so they know the dates, when it starts. And then also we go over a review of Academica. So we make sure that they know their Access ID, make sure they have their password, they're able to access all the tools in Academica, and one of those being their fall schedule. So that was the same in person and virtual. But some differences that we had with our orientation, since we knew that it would be online and we didn't have the luxury of meeting in person, we did create a Canvas shell for students to connect to prior to the orientation. They also had access to it after the orientation. But within the Canvas shell, they got information about our program. We had like videos that we made to kind of engage the students so they can kind of see our faces of the APEX staff before entering into the orientation. We also made sure that we incorporated a survey that asks questions about any technology needs that they have. So we are aware, so they are fully prepared when they begin in the summer semester. So that was definitely one of the key components that we want to make sure that we incorporate in the Canvas shell. And then also normally in person, the orientations are a fully APEX staff incorporated. But since it was virtual, we had 2 to 3 APEX staff split up into groups. So in one orientation day, we had several orientations going, leading by different APEX staff. And within these orientations, we wanted to make sure that the students felt supported, make sure it was an inviting environment. And some of the ways that we did that is that we had a PowerPoint that was kind of on a loop at the beginning while the students waited for the orientation to start. We would have music playing just to kind of calm their nerves. And then also on this presentation with the loop, we would just basically welcome them to APEX, inviting them and welcoming them to the Wayne State community. We also had, like, if we were doing any icebreakers, it would just kind of warn them to prepare, like, okay, 2 fun facts about yourself. And then also an opportunity if they wanted to share any social medias with other students, they can put that in the chat. So just trying to get them to just kind of unwind and get comfortable with us. We definitely want to make sure that we incorporate that in our orientation. And then also celebrating their high school graduation. Like, that is a great milestone in a lot of students' lives. And we want to make sure that they're celebrated, especially with the pandemic and some of their graduations being delayed or canceled. We want to make sure that we incorporate that as well. And our next orientation that we have is our APEX First. And this orientation is for our Fall Bridge students. So even though that they're not in the Summer Bridge program, so they're not a part of the 8 weeks that the Summer Bridge are a part of, we still want to make sure that they get the same information and are just as prepared to start in the fall. So with this orientation, we have the overview. They also get the opportunity to meet their advisor to begin that relationship, since this will be their point of reference throughout the semesters that they're here. Definitely a guide and a support system for them. We also want to make sure that they had just knowledge of the Wayne State resources that we have here at Wayne State, such as Academic Success Center or Student Disability Services, just to name a few. So we invite them to come and present their resources to our students so they're aware. And then also we have a bookstore tour where students are shown how to look for the books for their classes. And then also just a great opportunity to get Wayne State gear. So the difference between the in-person and the virtual, they were the same components. It was just the bookstore that we didn't have the luxury of giving them since it was virtual. Yeah, so that was the only change there, but we definitely made sure that they still had the resources and had the opportunity to meet their advisors. So that was all done virtually through Microsoft Teams. And over the changes that we made from in-person to virtual through advising in our interviews and our orientation, the tools that we used were mostly Wayne State resources. So Canvas and Outlook, Microsoft Teams and Zoom. And then OTL training was definitely a great reference for us and helping us to quickly just iterate ourselves in how to use these tools. So we know for ourselves and also are able to show the students, since they'll know how to, since they need to know how to use these resources for their classes and also to meet with us. So OTL was definitely a great way that we made sure that we are aware and stayed on top of it. And the next two slides just kind of highlight some of the results of the students. They take a survey at the end of the Summer Bridge program. And this first one just kind of highlights students' engagement with us, attending their biweekly appointments. Do they feel like we were approachable? Do they feel like we were comfortable? And our high numbers were with agree and strongly agree. And then for this last one, it was also strongly agree that we had the highest numbers as it relates to if they contacted us outside of their appointments, and then also of campus resources. You're muted.
Thank you. Thanks, Kiana, for going over our advising portion. Now we'll be going over our portion for instructional support and what that looked like post pandemic and now that we're in the pandemic. For our APEX, we offer a lot of different, for our APEX instructional support, we offer a lot of different resources for our student, as well as we have different requirements. So our requirements for instructional support is our students must complete at least 8 study hours. And this is before the pandemic. And these study hours had to be done in person. 4 of those hours had to be done in our building. So in AAB, that's where our office is located. The APEX students call it the APEX building, and they could either go into one of our computer labs that we have or just spend time in our designated areas for study sessions. And like I said, 4 of those had to be done in the APEX building. The other 4 could be done in places like the undergraduate library or the Wright Zone, anywhere that they can get assistance or study for their test and homework. And with those study hours, like I said, that was mandatory. So the difference between this semester is that we can't make study hours mandatory. So we weren't able to do those 8 mandatory study hours, but what we were able to do is have the students do a mandatory study group. Students also had to attend this mandatory study group in the pre-COVID, but also now this is their only kind of study hour that we have required for them. We have tutors signed up and they tutor for subjects such as English, math, sociology, biology, and any other classes that our students are in. And they're preset in their study groups. And after each appointment, our tutors write reports on those students and report out on who attended and who did not attend. So that's a way that we were able to kind of maintain that study group in just the 1 hour study requirement. One thing that helped us really during this transition to going to virtual learning was having our tutoring training online. So I kind of created a tutoring training on Canvas for all of our tutors to start, because I found that it was kind of hard to have a in-person synchronous training with our tutors over the summer to get them prepared for the fall semester. So what I decided to do, and this was probably last fall, was create a tutor training on Canvas that our tutors can go into and get some additional information on. So this was very helpful when we transitioned and when we hired new tutors, that they were still able to use this Canvas course shell and do asynchronous training. And I kind of just set a deadline for students or our tutors to complete the training, and then letting them know that if they had any questions that we can review that information before the fall semester started. We also had to transition into using some tutoring platforms, so virtual platforms to use for students, because as I mentioned before, all of our tutoring sessions were completed in person. So when we had to make that quick change in the winter semester of last year, we used the Big Blue Button, and then this summer, a lot of the students chose to use Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and Zoom. So those were ways that we could still incorporate our study sessions in the winter semester, and then also the summer and the semester as well. So pre-COVID for Summer Bridge, Ms. Sims kind of went over some of those tips for Summer Bridge, but I'll go in a little bit more detail of what Summer Bridge is. It's an 8-week live on campus program. So all of our students who participate in our Summer Bridge program have to live on campus and have to participate in the 8 weeks. Students live on campus they check in on Sunday and check out on Thursdays. So it's nice because they get the college feel, but also get to go home on the weekends and spend time with their families. And they had to participate in mandatory scheduled activities. So in lieu of advising in their tutoring appointments that they had to attend in the summer, we also had different workshops and breakout sessions that they had to attend as well. Students were enrolled in 4 classes. They had to complete all of their classes in the summer with a C or better in order to come and participate in the fall semester here at Wayne State. The instructional support team always hires in the summer a community specialist, about 8 peer advisors, and 6 tutors. The role of our peer advisors are just that, just to be peers to our students and mentor our students, and really just make sure that they are where they're supposed to be at a certain time and answering questions. And each of our peer advisors had about 20 to 30 students they were assigned to making sure that their Summer Bridge program was going smoothly and was successful. Our and our peer advisors are usually, they're all undergraduate students who are either Wayne State students or just students from the surrounding universities. For our community specialist, this person, we only have one, and this person is over our peer advisors. So they're the peer advisor supervisors, making sure that the peer advisors are being supported as the summer, those 8 weeks can get a little tough at points. So that community specialist is there to help our peer advisors and support them. And this person is usually a grad student, either at Wayne or a surrounding university. For our First 48, and our First 48 program is the first 2 days of our Summer Bridge program, where we really dig deep into Wayne State technology. So we tend to book the 2 rooms in Manoogian, those big computer labs, and we go over all the Wayne State technology, and we have staff that walks around making sure that students are on the right screens, they're understanding everything. We also have advisors and staff meet and greets. So during the first two days, the staff and Apex advisors get to meet with their students as a group. So for all the students who are majoring in engineering, we'll meet with Mr. Patterson in a group during that first 2 days. We also have a career development portion that is which is in person and hands-on in the summer. And we have a campus resource carousel that goes on, where students are able to go actually physically go to the departments on campus and just go and travel around and meet new people and the staff in that department. So they'll go to places like OMSI, CABS, SDS, and things like that, and really get a better understanding of what the resources there are and some staff members and meet staff members. So for this summer, for summer of 2020, obviously the students unfortunately could not live on campus. So everything was virtual. They had to do virtual online learning. And the only mandatory activities that they had was attending advising visits with their APEX advisor. They needed to meet with their peer advisors in visits as well, and they met with them weekly. And also they attended their tutoring sessions. So we weren't able to do any breakout sessions or workshops for our students to do as if we were in person. Students were enrolled in 3 courses this semester, as well as a career development course. They still needed to get that C or better. So although it was online, we still pushed them and wanted them to work hard to get that C or better in all those courses. For our hiring, we only hired 8 peer advisors and tutors for this semester. And that was just because we felt like it wasn't more so management for the peer advisors to make sure students were where they were at and things like that. So it was more for the online portion of the students having a peer that they can talk to and relate more to and really build that mentorship piece in the summer. We also did the same thing. So we were able to still do our first 48. We went over in a day all of the Wayne State technology that the students would use. Obviously, it wasn't as I feel like effective as when you're in person and you can actually see the student's screen and just point to where they need to click. This was in a Zoom meeting, so we kind of just went over everything and trying to answer students' questions in the chat as they came up. The students were still able to meet with their advisors, which was great because in Zoom we had that breakout feature. So they all were in one, and then we will break out in different sessions to meet with their advisor. They also did have the career development piece, which was virtually, but they still had it, which was great. And we were able also to do the campus carousels where we utilized the Zoom rooms as well. And we had students broken up in different rooms. And then we had presenters from the different offices go to the different rooms to meet with students. We also have a class, and it is the APEX 1000 class. It is also a WE course, and it is for first-year students to build upon their critical thinking skills. So all of our APEX students have to take this class. No matter if they're summer bridge or fall bridge, they must take APEX 1000. And this class was only offered in person. There is no way that a student could take this class online before this semester. So now obviously our students are taking classes, they have to take this class virtually. So they're still getting the same information that they did, but we're now just in a virtual setting. Some tools and resources that we as instructional support is I use more of Bitmoji classrooms. I had a great time building my Bitmoji classrooms. I don't know if my students appreciate it as much as I had fun doing it, but I wanted to give them a little bit more interaction. So the example is up here at the top is my Bitmoji classroom. So like welcome them to week 3, and it's me talking, but a girl that I try to make look like me talking to the students. So I have a voiceover. Instead of me just having a voiceover of a plain PowerPoint, I didn't really want to do that. Kind of make it a little bit more interactive and kind of trying to make the students interested in listening to my lectures. So I did incorporate the Bitmoji classrooms. We also started using Powtoon videos in the end of the winter, just trying to get students more engaged as we had a lot of information coming out to them, and we didn't want just emails to send to them all the time. So we had information on instructional support, and instead of sending an email, we kind of made a short video for students to watch. We also got creative and kind of sent students good luck on finals and things like that to make just videos so we didn't just bore them with words on a screen. I've also incorporated Edpuzzles in my lectures, and I haven't done that before. When I had videos on Canvas pre-pandemic, I would just have the videos on there and just kind of crossed my fingers and hope the students will watch them. But now I have the videos where students can watch them, and it's a little bit more interactive because I have a question on there, and I can either stop the video at any point in time, ask the students a question, and this question pops up, they have to answer it and type it in on the screen, and then it grades them at the end. We also use Kahoot, which is just a game and kind of just measure where students are, what they're learning and what they're remembering. So Kahoot games, Screencastify really helped me when I want to go over my syllabus with students. Usually I go over it the first day of class, so students have those details and know what the class is about and the key assignments. So I was able to use Screencastify to share my screen to show the video, but also have a voiceover of me talking about all of the key parts of the syllabus. We used YouTube more, our Canvas course more, and then the use of Microsoft Teams and Zoom to meet with students. For our results for instructional support, it came out, and as you can see the results, most of our students said strongly agree, which was great, and all of our students had to take this survey, and I think it was about we had about 150 to 155 students in our summer bridge. So like I said, they all took the survey, and most of our results show that they agree or strongly disagree. And I'll just read a couple. So for the first one, it says, I learned about campus resources, for example, the library, CAPS, OMSI, and they said that they did learn about that. They also, I feel that the first 48 sessions prepared me for what to expect during summer bridge. Most of the students felt like what they did learn in the first 48 that prepared them with going over the Wayne State technology and things of that nature. Also, I understand where to go to find assistance for academic assistance. So most students, as you can see, agreed that they know where to go to find academic assistance if they ever need it. Now I'll pass it over to Mr. Nicholas Patterson to go over our career development portion.
Hello, so I'm Nick Patterson again. I'm the career development coordinator, and I want to take this option from you. All right, so just to give you an overview of the objectives of career development, our goal is to expose students to career development activities as soon as they get into Apex or Wayne State University, meaning that if they're interested in engineering, we want to expose them to whatever is engineering as soon as possible, from lecture series to the C2 lab where they're actually doing 3D printing, to even getting with student organizations like NSBE. We want to make sure that students are prepared when they leave Apex or third semester for their major, and that they're engaged, talking like their major, have a network for their major. So we make sure that students attend at least 3 workshops a semester that are focusing on their career in their major. Now with everything happening, of course, we had to develop some things differently with Apex. And so what we did was we developed a 6-week Canvas shell. And before I discuss the Canvas shell, I do want to give a shout out to our career coaches. We had the opportunity to employ 2 part-time career coaches who handle everything career development and also helped me with the summer, the summer Canvas portal. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. I know we don't have that much time, so I do want to just walk through the Canvas shell. So the biggest task that we were charged with was creating a Canvas shell for our students with career development activities. Students had a week to complete each module in our portal. And I'll start with week 1 here. Each week we gave students 7 days to complete the module. We want to make sure we gave them all the instructions and everything that they needed to complete the assignments. We also had a PowerPoint presentation. We wanted to make sure that this was ADA accommodating. We hit everything but the captions. We did not do captions for the first week, but going for the 4 weeks, we did make sure that our PowerPoints were ADA accommodating. Usually in our summer bridge experience, we have workshops every week for our students, and it's a 6-week experience. So we always have a workshop once a week. We put out YouTube videos that we thought would kind of deliver entertaining yet engaging aspects. Of course, we couldn't use our charismatic personalities as much, so we leaned heavy on a lot of external resources like YouTube clips, clips already designed on different major websites. We also use different engagement techniques like discussion boards, which I'm going to click to next. You can see we also use assessments. One of the biggest things that I do want to point out is that I was big on time. I wanted students to know a ballpark of about how much time they were going to spend on career development, being that one, this isn't actually a class. These are some things that we wanted to appeal to students intrinsically. So I wanted students to know about how much time is set aside, and not like you know, I got you. Now the next slide is 30 minutes and then the next slide is an hour. This was big on communicating with students so they knew, you know, not to rush through activity and to really give it some time. Or, you know, this is something I can complete, you know, on my hour lunch break or whatever the case may be. We also have discussion boards. So discussion boards was big for us. The biggest thing is because we knew that students were going to use discussion boards in their courses. So what we did was we made discussion boards career development, but we added a little bit of a classroom feature to it. For instance, students will make a post by Tuesday, and then they will come back on Thursday to reply to students. So you can see some students were actually posting, but this probably wasn't a good week, but some students were actually posting good material, and they were also engaging in conversation. Our career coaches also replied to the students just to keep it going and for students to get some type of engagement, because again, they thought that they were going to be on campus. So I'm going to stop sharing just so I can run through the rest of the report. Okay, I think I lost the PowerPoint. All right, so again, we did create a 6-week interactive Canvas portal that consisted of YouTube videos, online assessment, discussion boards, interactive live sessions, and group sessions. We also had Apex Career Connections, which is like an Apex Career Day where we invited speakers to come in and have conversations with students. Since we could not do this in a physical setting, we did do a virtual. Some settings, students were actually able to log on in a virtual, like watching actual Zoom sessions, and then some sessions were recorded for students to play back in their own leisure time. These are just some of the assessment results. During the week 4, we administered evaluation because we want to know where, Akila, you can go through the next few slides. What's this working? Was it engaging you enough? What did you learn from it? How can we learn? What should we know? What can we know to do better for the next time? Just because we want to know if it worked. And we had, I believe, over 120 responses from the students, and you can go to the next one. Some of the challenges were, and these are challenges not just for career development, but for Apex and whole, access to updated technology and consistent Wi-Fi. Of course, students thought they were going to live on campus, and with the COVID catching us all by surprise, we had a lot of students who were working on cell phones, didn't have computers, didn't have consistent Wi-Fi, didn't have Wi-Fi at all. So providing hotspots, making sure that they had access to hotspots and computers was a challenge that we had to overcome. Essential workers, actually having some of our students be essential workers, working at grocery stores and retail stores, and students rightfully wanting to work. But having conversations with those students, letting them know that this is, even though you're in a virtual setting, this is not like you just plug in an earpiece while you're working on the cash register. You really have to still engage and give your courses time. I'm going to go to some successes just to save time. Majority of our students not only completed the career development portal, but they also they engaged with Apex virtual setting because they knew what our objectives were. And I think we were very clear from the beginning that this is new to everyone and we're going to get through it together. I don't think we tried to make it seem like we were experts. I think we put in the expert work, and I think it showed in how we deliver our services. But I think just us being honest and upfront with our students, made them really engage with us the most. Students were able to complete activities during their own times. Students were able to complete activities and assignments at 2, 3 in the mornings when, you know, they were the most active, or students were working longer schedules, or if students were still going up north for their vacation. They did have enough time within a week to complete their assignments, and students were able to be supported in different ways in a virtual setting, given that, you know, we're letting them in our homes, they let us in their homes. We were able to see them and talk to them in different settings that we think if we were in an actual office setting, it would not be as engaging. So I'm going to pass the mic back to Ms. Kiana. I know we don't have much time. Who can sum up our takeaways?
Oh, okay. So these are just some of the takeaways that are connected to the challenges and successes that Mr. Patterson just went over. And some of those are just being flexible and patient with the process, knowing that we're all going through these changes together. So just being patient with one another and extending grace, not only with the students, but also across campus. So that kind of relates to being open, the last bullet point. And then also just being creative, as we've shared some of the tools that we've used to just kind of engage students. And then also just make sure that we survey before and after, so we know how to best assist and how we can grow and meet the students' needs. So that does complete our presentation.